Welcome back to Equal Time Soccer. We are officially kicking off the summer season when we know we're talking about roster reveals and things going on with at the W League, certainly a little bit of WPSL talk from last year, and we're still waiting on some UPSL scheduling. So we're going to get into all of it. We are back into the thick of things. Thank you for everybody who keeps supporting us both on Patreon and also by subscribing on YouTube. Thank you to Pentz Homes for keeping us going, and subscribe on our Equal Time YouTube channel. We will not be on X as much as we were in previous times, and so if you want to see shows live and watch and any of the shows from the past, the archive is on YouTube, so get over there if you want to see. We've had plenty of Sioux Falls City content over there. Today we're in the 605, baby. We've got Joe Demay to start. We've got players. It's South Dakota's team now in the USLW League. Like I said, we'll reference some of the other summer leagues going on, but we are with Joe Demay, head coach, and is it sporting director, director of soccer? What do you like to use, Joe?
Well, what I use sporting director, but like one of our owners in particular struggles a little bit remembering the title. So I'm whatever.
I didn't mean to open
Whatever
up a can of
whatever I'm
worms.
called, yeah, whatever I'm called, I just
Chief
kind of
they've come up with the term like chief soccer officer too, because people like to use different. It doesn't matter. It's a term. When I worked in politics, they're like, "Look, the title's free. That we can give you
I
whatever
really
title you
want
want."
Anna Bondi, our director of player care. She constantly wants to be referred to as the executive vice president of nothing. So I kind
I
of like
mean,
that title.
if it makes her, value her job, give her the title, Joe. Yeah, look, we love it. So first things first, as I think about getting back into the thick of things, back into the game, kicking off in terms of what we cover on Equal Time. I think back to in the fall when, we see all of your posts about recruiting. I mean, the posts are both probably, for fun, and also it's to show that you are recruiting, you're out there, but you do get around. I'll catch you at a few games, but you travel a lot further afield than I do. And so, you're going to the coast, you're going everywhere. Talk about the scope of recruitment this past year, and just, how it bore fruit, or if anything was different in terms of you traveling to actually, because I know you really do go meet the players in person, you watch them in person.
Yeah, I think that's an important part of what we do and how the ownership supports us and seeing people live is, I mean, the video is great. We have access to that, but like there's one player in particular who took a trip. I usually take one to North Carolina because there's such a density of teams and games that you can check out there. So you can go for 5 or 6 days and catch 6 or 8 games.
Hmm.
So yeah, a player who I'd seen before, but like watching her live and be able to see the whole field at, instead of whatever the camera happens to show on whatever feed
Yeah.
they feed into ESPN. Then it just kind of like, oh, okay, that is definitely somebody who it fits our profile. So
Hmm.
so yeah, I mean, definitely get to see things in person that you don't normally get to see, and you get to see, just little things about players. And I mean, the more you can watch, um, the more it helps, because there's just so many different scenarios that come up. So, but the footprint was pretty big. I did made that trip to North Carolina. Did a lot of NSIC this year, probably a little bit more than normal.
Hmm.
Some of it fueled by the fact that Minnesota State had such a great season and lasted so long. So
Hmm.
they were bringing in some in the tournament they were hosting, so they were bringing in some top teams. So I got to see them a bunch. There was actually a time I got into my car, and you know how like you get the iPhone and if you use it for directions, it'll say, "Oh, like work is this far away or home is this far
Yeah.
away." I got into
Yeah.
the car one day and it said Mankato is 2 hours and 39 minutes away.
Okay.
Because I had been to Mankato so many times, it's just assumed, well, you must be going to Mankato.
Okay.
So yeah, but
Watch out,
definitely do a lot of
Mankato
work.
United, coming for your turf. I mean, they have a lot of players. There's too many to fit just one WPSL team anyway. But yeah, I mean that we're gonna meet one of your Mankato-based players in a little bit. But talk about I mean, you've been a successful team, especially last year. It grew year on year, winning the WPSL conference you were in, the Northern Conference at the time. I think now it's going to be called Land O'Lakes Conference. So we love the Minnesota terminology, but successful teams, you have a good core of players to draw from, whether even some moving on to professional life or otherwise. But talk about, did you feel, we're scrolling through the players here as we talk. There is a certain, every year maybe it seems a little bit on paper you find a bit more access to bigger programs or things and pedigree on paper. Did you find anything different in terms of like just the way the team keeps growing and recruiting players in terms of opening doors and how the conversations, were easier with the talent?
It's interesting. I think Division One soccer in particular is going through a lot of changes. There'll be a realignment next year with the teams starting earlier with their
Yeah.
acclimatization phase. So I don't know how that's going to impact things for the next year. I would say the one thing that this year was a little different was just finding player, like having a really clear, or every year maybe clarifying what the player profile is that we're looking for. And the fact that the country is so big and there's so many players involved at the game at the college level, all divisions, all levels, NCAA, NAIA, JUCO.
Mm-hmm.
We found a lot of players who fit the profile, who maybe were like maybe a little bit under the radar, or not on the biggest stage or under the brightest lights. And you kind of go through a stage of like, well, okay, are we making those choices? Are we evaluating those players effectively? And we became better at it. I think to be able to determine, regardless of maybe the opposition that players come up against, that's not their
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. They can only play who they play against. So I would say that was the one thing, is just like having a better understanding of our player profiles and the qualities we look for in the players, and then finding them in places where, again, maybe would tend to go under the radar. The other piece of it, and no disrespect to any league, but since we made the change, is inundated with emails from players,
Interesting.
wanting to be part of it. And
Hmm.
there were some
Hmm.
very good players that we had to say no to because of the way we built our roster. Like 90% of our roster was set by the first of the year. So
Right.
we had a few spots open, and we had some fluidity in that. There's always a little bit of fluidity. Something comes up with the player, or maybe they
Mm-hmm.
deal with an injury or something. So there was a little bit of ability to bring some players in. So that's something that we'll discuss in the off season is, do we leave more spots open for players who express interest? And again, we can't see all the players. So there are players who inquire, who, when we are able to evaluate them, we can say, oh, they would definitely fit in, but like, we just don't
Mm-hmm.
have room on the roster. And unlike, again, every club has their own way of doing things. Ours is like, we want a pretty solid core. We don't want to have a 40-player roster. I
Mm-hmm.
spoke to a player, we might have talked about this earlier in the season. Maybe it was off air, but I spoke to a player who played for a USLW club, and there were 72 players on the roster she was part of last year. And it's like, how did you do that? And she was like, yeah, it was a challenge. So yeah, like we there's a lot of talent out there. So I think it's just a case of knowing how you want to build your
Mm-hmm.
team and what those qualities are, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe being a little bit less biased or more blind to like, well, what level are they playing at? Like, it
Yeah.
matters, but it also doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's one of the fun things about watching leagues in the summer where you have players mixing, and you can have a player like, at any of the teams we tend to cover. I mean, they could be playing at a community college, they could be playing any level, and maybe they're the best player there, maybe they're not, but they just find the right situation too in the summer. And we watch people really, make it work. And then also these days it's easy to transfer up if you happen to be someone who wants to do that. So we see that as well from players that we cover. Talk about going to the W League. I mean, it's not, a radical shift, but in terms of shifting to the W League for us, obviously WPSL has a lot of teams based right in Minnesota, and then with the Fargo Moorhead team, with the W League, it's a bit more regional, but it's getting more concentrated, having Aurora, Rochester, and now Sioux Falls. Any comment on just the move to the W League, and maybe what that affects in terms of you in coaching, or why the move is made?
Yeah, I think it aligns with the club's, larger long-term goals.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, we're not secretive or shy about the fact that we want to build a professional level team,
Mm-hmm.
and we thought, just kind of examining where everything's at in the landscape, which we all know is ever changing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
something different could come up in 2 weeks that maybe makes everybody kind of recalibrate again. But just looking at it from that perspective, USL was the place to be. From a competitive standpoint, maybe from a brand recognition standpoint, I think USLW, as it's come back, has established itself,
Mm-hmm.
on that level as a
Mm-hmm.
place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that was attractive. I think there was some more alignment with the level of professionalism. Like the Minnesota clubs do a great job, but like they have a certain purpose and a certain mission for why most of them are involved in the league, and
Mm-hmm.
it's it's great what they provide. It's just maybe not what we seek, and it doesn't always fit. I think there's some tension there between, they're all locally based and we're coming from out of town, so we have some different needs and some different asks, than most of the other teams that are just hopping in their car and driving 20 minutes to
Mm-hmm.
40 minutes to get there. So,
Mm-hmm.
so some of it was based on that. But in terms of the differences, I think the league rules are slightly different. No reentry on subs, so that changes things.
Yeah.
It used to be an 18-player roster. They did move to a 20-player roster, but again, how you manage the roster is different because we could have a 20-player game day roster in the WPSL and everybody could play, and you could
Mm-hmm.
have reentry. And like now, there's 20 players in the game day roster, but you can still only make 7 subs across 3 moments. So there's guaranteed 3 players for sure who are on the game day roster who will not play in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So managing that will be slightly different. And then obviously it has a tactical component too, in terms of, hey, you need to get your opening 11 right,
Mm-hmm.
because the ability to make a sub, if you need to make a sub, you've burned that sub. And not only have you lost the sub, but then obviously you're dealing with the human factor of, well, the player that you removed now has to deal with the fact that maybe they got an early hook. So yeah, I think like that part of it will become a little bit more tactical, but I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something our whole technical staff is looking forward to, is engaging in those differences.
Mhm. I mean, it's certainly for the teams that we cover, when you think of teams with different missions, obviously, you and Aurora being the ones in the local area that do the most in terms of media facing, public facing, wanting to do things, with us to amplify the game. So I think it is exciting for fans. I think some Aurora fans, for example, maybe they haven't watched our stuff about Sioux Falls City. I don't know if they know. I mean, they know maybe they'd scrimmage like the hardcore fans. I think it's going to be really good for the game to have the teams playing so much because there's 3 games between Rochester as well, which was a really quality team last year, very competitive. There's a lot of games between the teams in the area we cover. So anyway, there will be a lot of opportunities, and I'll list them at the end so people know. But for people who don't know, too, Joe, just I thought it was a funny connection. You went back into the college game as well because it's opposite season. So you are now also the head coach at University of Sioux Falls, which is the same field. Well, it's where you play your games. Bob Young Field is already the USF family. And I wanted to say the last time Joe coached, and we don't have to say years. The last time he coached in college though was Purdue Fort Wayne, and Danny Foxhoven Young, who's our resident pro, our kind of like shot pro at Equal Time. She coached at Purdue Northwest when she was a D2 coach. So we're really synergizing things here in the upper Midwest. But I do wonder, I mean, you're dealing with the transfer. We don't have to talk deep about like transfer portal and everything with college, but in simple terms, because it has been a while since you coached, in college, what's anything been really noticeably different? Obviously, transfer and NIL, I don't think it's a big deal for you, but it could be, I guess. But what have you noticed? Because it has been a little while since you did the college game.
I think it's the same thing as recruiting for Sioux Falls City. The fact that there's so many players out there, and there can be a lot of noise, and there can be that eagerness to
Mm-hmm.
go out and sign people and recruit people. And it's an important part of the job. But I think sometimes patience is an excellent quality to have. At the same time, I think recognizing maybe when you have maybe found a player who really fits the profile, not just on the field, but off the field, knowing when that is and saying, hey, we have to go after that player immediately and try to secure them. I think that's a big part of it. And then the other part is just like, just knowing your team and what your needs are. So I think, from that perspective with, it's the same thing we do with Sioux Falls City, but like, hey, we need to know, like, what do we have? What are the talent, the qualities of the people who are already here? So for Sioux Falls City, that's like, well, who is coming back and where do they fit in? Do they have the same role? Do we envision them having the same role next year? Do we envision them having a little different role in terms of maybe area of the field, or maybe a more substantial role in terms of their involvement? So once you have that, then you can go out and start recruiting. So I think that's the foundation of everything, is just like, hey, what do we want to do? What do we have? And then what do we need? Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little bit different demographic of player. But I think, ultimately it's the same thing. And yeah, when I think the portal is going to go wild here when it opens up, just because of the roster limits for the Division One, most Division One programs, not all. But when those players do go into the portal, either by choice or by necessity because of the roster limits, then the number of opportunities at the Division One level for them to transfer is going to be limited, because 80% of the teams are going to be in the same boat in terms of, well, we can't sign anybody. So again, connecting that to city, like we put a cap on the number of players we have, because we think if we go above a certain number, it just makes it more challenging to manage all of those people, just logistically. But then also, again, from a human element, is if you've got 40 players in your roster and you have 30 plus who are available on a game day, that's a lot of people that you have to tell you're not involved in the game. And then what's their experience like over the summer? Like maybe they are training and maybe helping improve themselves. Most of the women who join the team are improving themselves for the fall or for a future professional opportunity. But that's not an easy situation to be in. So again, like we get in that situation where we kind of cap ourselves and say, hey, we're not going to go above this number for a variety of reasons, and so we have to be smart about like who we bring in. So yeah, I don't really see. There's a lot of similarities. There's a few differences, but I think at the end of the day, it's just knowing what you have, knowing what you need, and then how are you going to be able to go out and identify those people.
Yeah, well, it's good turf coverage for recruiting as well. I mean, you're seeing the players, you're seeing there's so much quality to be found. I mean, in the Northern Sun Conference that we cover a lot. And last from you, Joe, I just wanted to ask you, I mean, in the fall, it's always so fun, summer and fall, to see which players with kind of local connections are getting, pro opportunities, and both, on the field is, probably most exciting. But of course, you have assistants who had played for you, like Anna Bondi and Hailee, who are now, coaches. Talk about seeing, your players, move on and elevate or find their way in the game, and kind of what that does as a selling point to the program, because they can see, obviously, there's a path to success.
Yeah, I mean, I think from my own perspective, the opportunity to work with some of those people and be a small part in their journey, because they're the ones that, their journey is theirs. And I was on it for a little bit to do what I could. But I think that from that perspective, that's like part of our club's approach is, do right by people and provide them the opportunities and support that maybe we all recognize aren't as prevalent in the game, or in fact, sometimes are completely missing from the game, particularly the women's side. We continue to see problems and some different situations arise from it. So I think that part of it is just like, go do what you could do, and then the results kind of take care of themselves. So, we do want to help. Like we're doing it to help the women in the club achieve whatever ambitions they have, whether it's in the coaching side. There's some people who want to be involved in the business side of soccer. And we're doing, what we can to support them, down the road, immediately in the short term, but then down the road. So I think from that perspective, it's just like, hey, just go help people. And then obviously I think if you help people and they go into different roles, professional game, or they get into coaching, or they get into the business side of the game, then that success, speaks for itself, right? So we don't necessarily, certainly do amplify the fact that like we have supported those people on their journey, but it's not the reason that we do it necessarily. So and I still think, I'll be honest, I still think there's a component to it that it's South Dakota. So I think some people recognize and understand what we're doing, but I still think there's a lot of people that are a little bit sus, as the kids would say, about the fact that it's South
Whoa,
Dakota.
Joe
And
knows.
yeah, so I think just I don't think people are fully bought in, or
Yeah,
I'd say the
yeah,
biggest challenge in speaking to some of the, like, Power Four players is like South Dakota. Like, okay,
yeah.
and we talk to them and we tell them, but like there's still that
Mhm.
reluctance to maybe believe that, like, you
Mhm.
can come here. First of
Yeah.
all, we have electricity and water and plumbing and everything.
Oh, it's great.
Uh,
Wi-Fi. There's Wi-Fi out here.
we
It's
do have
crazy.
Wi-Fi. We even have 5G. It's quite incredible.
Whoa, look at
Uh,
you.
but there is that element to it for sure. But
Mhm.
just do what we do every day, and help people, in their path to success, and then we will
Mhm.
obviously, let people know about it. But
Mhm.
that's kind of a secondary part to it. So it does help, but I still think there's some challenges to
Of
the
course.
geography and the stereotypes about our
Of
location. But
course.
like,
Well,
we just deal with it and move on.
we're gonna ask some of these players how they got recruited, Joe. We're gonna figure out. Yeah, we're gonna ask Nadja from East Coast by way of Ivory Coast. But yeah, no, we appreciate you joining, Joe. We're excited. I'm gonna plan to get out. I think it's June 17th. I have the details later in the show, but I'm planning to get out there for sure. Again, every year I've gone out, you can see I'm wearing when I'm wearing it, it's a Raggedy Andy shirt. I like to say Pride Kit. I think it's cool. I just think it's fully committed. All the different patterning is tight. I know there's the shape of the city of Sioux Falls in the back.
Yeah.
But Joe,
Wait for the new kit drop.
now
Just
we're
wait.
gonna. Well, hey, wait, I mean, chances are I'll probably buy another one. We'll see. But I'm gonna move on. We got to get to the players, Joe. But I'll see
Yep.
you soon, and we'll talk. And thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate what you and Matt do. So thanks.
Thank you, bud. And so, people, we were playing that video. You can keep staying tuned to the socials for Sioux Falls City FC, and you're going to see all those players announced. And so, yeah, hopefully, scrolling through as Joe and I talked, you could get a sense of that opening roster. We're now going to add a couple of players, and we're going to have to, like I said, we're going to get a little sense from Nadja about what she knows about South Dakota, because Joe and I were talking about recruiting people. But starting off, I do want to ask Nadja, you're making your way here. I'm guessing you haven't been to South Dakota yet, right?
No.
So you grew up on the East Coast, Connecticut, New England,
Yep.
by way of Ivory Coast. And
Yep.
so what did you ever know about South Dakota? What was on your Mount Rushmore? I'm giving you a hint about South Dakota. What was on your Mount Rushmore of things about South Dakota at the time?
Um. Honestly, nothing. Cause
It's honest.
I met this lady who told us that she was from North Dakota, but like I did not even
Okay.
know that there was like an area called South Dakota. So I
Uh-huh.
had no
Uh-huh.
idea.
I love it. And I mean, you were growing up. I mean, if you're in, New England, you're getting snow, it's not like that. And you're going to be here in summer, by the way. I mean, it's gorgeous. All the Midwest is gorgeous in the summer. But it's like, what did you just start Googling? What's the first thing? Like, you must have just Googled Sioux Falls, right?
Yes, I did, and I saw that it was nice. And then when he started talking about like the lakeside, the riverside, like Sioux Falls, like it was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's the fall, like, oh, it's really nice, like looking at it and all of that. But like I also heard that,
Mm-hmm.
like Hasi was saying like earlier on about like the location, like people don't play soccer there and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
then in my mind, I was like, I like that, like I like to explore. I want to take that risk because like when I tell people that I'm going to South Dakota, they're like, well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I like that. I like that reaction. Like, I want to see that reaction. So I
You're
want
up
to,
for
yeah,
you're up for the
yeah.
challenge.
So I want
Yeah.
to see it for myself. I want to go experience it myself, and then at the end of the day, like have my own experience. Yeah.
It's cool. Well, I mean, you can take me at my word, but the soccer is quality. And also, yeah, I've lived in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I've also lived in small towns. Sioux Falls is great, man. It's a great little city. So you're going to have a good time out there.
I'm glad.
Talk about, you played in the Right to Dream Academy, right?
Yeah.
So for people like I haven't heard as many stories from the women's side of that program. I've heard more like it became a place that definitely like was funneling men to MLS and things like that. Like very successful academy program. Talk about how did you first get connected to them and was that a big piece of a benefit to you then connecting into the college game or your transition?
So I'm originally from the Ivory Coast, and then
Mhm.
the academy is like located in Ghana, which is like
Yeah, I assume you must have been in the Ghana one. Yeah. Yeah.
yes. So I moved to Ivory Coast when I was like 10 years old. Like I moved to Ghana. They
Mhm.
it was I was recruited. They came to Ivory Coast, and then like we had like this like
Mhm.
recruiting people who came to like recruit some of us, and then I was like luckily I was selected to like go to the academy in
Yeah.
2000, I think 2014. So I was like about 10 years old. So I stayed there for like few years, and then I moved to the States in
Mhm.
2021.
Nice. I mean, and it must have been seen as, I mean, making it a real possibility. The fact that like you're selected, you're gonna like that makes you think, oh, soccer, football can be a real thing if
Yeah,
they're
yeah, it
taking
was,
you
and
here.
it was both at the time. It was both like you go to school and then you play soccer. So it was like
Yeah.
it was both, which was really nice, and you
Right.
met like new people, and then yeah, it was a good time. I had a
Mhm.
good time. I met new people. I left my
Mhm.
country really early, so like
Yeah.
I literally like explored the world like really young. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm not like scared to like go to South Dakota or North Dakota,
Yeah, right, right.
any
It is
Dakota.
on very, very impressive. Yeah, that is. I'd have to have been like a really, really good hockey player or something to be pulled out from northern Minnesota like that. No one was pulling me out of the house because I was so good at something. Yeah, it is wild, and that you were able to, and good on your family for supporting you through that. Mo, I mean, you're going to be the one teaching Naj about what's going on in the Dakotas. You're part of that somewhat core that comes along because there is a lot of good recruiting from around the country, but then I think really good recruiting of the local NSIC schools, the Dakota schools, people who are based around the area. And so you've been thriving at Mary, a team that we end up covering in the fall a lot. You were the defensive player of the year in the Northern Sun last fall. How did you end up at Mary? Because you're from Texas. You transferred it. You were at UTEP, and so I guess similar to Naj, I mean, you become a local, but how'd you get up to Mary in North Dakota from Texas?
Yeah, I'm originally from California, so I think early
I
on,
noticed that.
yeah, early on, like a lot of people think that California is like really great, which it is. No hate to California, but early on, I realized that I couldn't stay there much longer. Like I had enough, and I realized that I wanted to go out of state for college.
Yeah.
And my mom wasn't too happy, but when I started getting all these offers in like my junior year, I was like, okay, like Texas seems cool, like let's do it. And I
Hmm.
got there, and it was a great experience. It wasn't like a terrible experience, but it definitely just
Yeah.
wasn't the best. And so
Hmm.
when I hit the portal for the first time, I had a lot of different like prospects from all over the states, and I knew that I wanted to go somewhere different than the West Coast. Didn't want to go
Hmm.
like anywhere too cold, ironic. And I took a couple trips, and I decided to try Minot and You Married just because I had a
Hmm.
good friend there, and I ended up falling in love with Bismarck at the time, and there wasn't a lot of snow on the ground, so that made a difference. And
Yeah, no, it looks great in the summer. I'm sure it's gorgeous.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, it does. And when I finally just like decided between like a lot of my different options, and money wasn't a big thing, like I wanted to go somewhere that I had a good experience, and like whatever
Hmm.
happens happens. And I landed at UMary just because I, like I said, fell in love with the university, the coaches, like what they were believing in. And I also just they were kind of underdogs. Like Mary hasn't really been
Hmm.
like that great over the years. Like they've been like middle of the pack, which is not that bad,
Hmm.
but in the NSIC conference, it's a pretty like hard conference in my opinion for Division
Yeah,
Two.
dude. Yeah.
And yeah, so I kind of am like Nadja, where I like to be the underdog. I like to see what people are like. Oh, you want to go there? Like, why would you want to go there? And here I am, and I
Yeah.
never looked back.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, while you were on that journey, Sioux Falls City was created, which kind of worked out. I mean, because there have been other teams, like, Dakota Fusion plays in North Dakota, but the way Sioux Falls City has come in is just another level. And so to see it work out. There's been a lot of other players where it worked out perfectly. Like Hailee Fisher played on the team just as she was finishing, and it's like now she's a coach and it works out. And so opportunities abound when you have it. So you played on the team before. Players have a lot of options in summer. Sometimes they just need a break. Sometimes they do internships. They do a lot of stuff. What brought you back? Why are you playing again for the Citizens?
Yeah, I think it's definitely I'm not someone who's gonna be able to do a 9 to 5 job, and I think I realized that right away. And I also just can't like function in that type of environment for internships, like or jobs. Like I want to be able to play as long as I can. And coming from
Yeah.
California, there's a lot of great teams in California too. Like there's
Hmm.
obviously chances that I can go back, I can play there. And what keeps me coming back is like what this like club stands for, who the owners are, what they do in the community, like how they raise money, how they find investors.
Hmm.
And instead of going home in the summertime to California and being in 90-degree weather, I choose to go to the Midwest and stay in the Midwest because of what this team stands for.
Yeah.
And just to see the progression in my like only 3 years of being here, I'm not an OG who like has
Hmm.
been here for 4 years, but the progression from WPSL and then WPSL again and then now to the W League, it's been like quite the ride, but also just so enriching for all the teammates that I've been with. Like everyone goes
Hmm.
back to their college just so much more like fit, so much more intelligent when it comes to the game. And I think I see that in myself because I've become a way better player than just being in college. And
Hmm.
even though my college eligibility is gone now, I definitely like want to keep playing on for however long I can. And I think
Hmm.
Sioux Falls definitely holds a place in my heart. And I don't think I'm going to be going anywhere soon because this
Hmm.
team stands for a lot more than just like soccer. They're trying to pave the way for a team in South Dakota, and they're going to
Hmm.
get there. We just have to wait along and go along for the ride.
Yeah, South Dakota's team. Yeah, we love it. That's cool to hear. I mean, and we love seeing the players who just want to keep playing. If anybody wanted me on a soccer team, no one's calling. I'd be there. Someone, yeah, and maybe I wouldn't actually. It probably wouldn't work out. I'd get too sore. But going back, Naj, there's a lot of players who there's a mix of people like Mo who have, like you said, run out of college eligibility, and then a lot of players who, and typically is the case with Sioux Falls City, where you have some people coming out of high school. You have, you just played your first year at Brown. You played a lot though, for a really solid team. For people who follow our stuff, they played at Minnesota, and so I watched a few of the Gopher games, and I watched that game versus Brown in person. 1-1 draw. Brown was a problem. They're a tough team, and you got to play a lot, and you ended up starting a lot later. When you were first playing, I'm curious to ask people in their first year, especially, what did you feel confident about? Like, what are you like, well, actually, this is fine. I don't have to sweat this. I'm not mentally sweating this. And what was the thing that you were like, damn, and you had to work and really get into it to adapt?
Um, I think the fact that like I grew up in soccer really helped me a lot. Because I'm like wherever I find myself, and then wherever like the people I find myself playing with, like I know I'm a good player. Like that one, I know that at the back of my mind because I grew up playing the game. So like I know the game
Mhm.
more than some people on the team. Cause like the soccer IQ, I know it, and then because I love the game so much that sometimes I don't even have to like think about it so much because
Mhm.
I know I grew up in it. So like playing it, I always play because I enjoy the game. Like I love the game. That's why I'm playing it. So
Mhm.
sometimes I don't do it too much. It's just because of the love of the game. So I'm like, okay, let's just
Mhm.
play. So my first year at Brown, like at the beginning, I was like, oh, it's a new team, it's a new environment. So at the beginning, I was struggling a little bit because I'm like, this is a new team. But like when I got into it, it became a part of me because I'm like, oh, I know the game. Like this is another team that I have to like play with, and I have
Mhm.
to just enjoy myself. So
Mhm.
when I started like having that mindset, it just became a part of me, and then I became a part of the team.
Why not? Hey, this is a fully realized person. Naj is about to guide my meditations, Naj. You feel like you got your stuff settled out. I will say, when you said like certain parts of the game, like, I just feel it or whatever. I did when I was Googling that I did see a couple of your goals from this year, and the first one was definitely instinct because you hit off the post or the keeper barely saved it, volleyed it out of the air, went into the goal. When you celebrated, you ran to the sideline, did a slide tackle. You almost really jacked up a teammate. You almost like cleated up a teammate's ankle because you were
Right.
you were pumped. Well, they were it did. They were good. It was a celebration. And then the second one I watched, you had a one touch off like a ball coming down the lane, as like a winger coming out to you. You one touched in the corner, like a curved ball in the left corner, and you walked over to the side and you did a shh, and then you also did a I don't know. Like you did a shrug. You're like, I don't know. I mean, which, by the way, we love. And the W League is all cool with celebrations. Aurora has like, if anything, maybe over choreographed sellies, but they're fun. You got plans to get in and help coordinate? Is that something you know? You
Oh
selly.
yeah,
I watched you do it.
yeah, yeah. I have a lot. So
You're
you'll get
ready?
ready.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Look, we love South Dakota in the 605. We could use a little Ivory Coast flavor in the celebration. So I think it'll be appreciated if you bring some of that, Naj.
Okay,
Uh,
no.
we can do with it. Mo, one of the things I want to ask you, you're talking about, I mean, one, you're like done, playing collegiately, and one of the things, but you've already done, and I'm sure a lot of the other players have too, but it's something that came up when I was researching you, that you've coached at Dakota United, like done youth coaching. What ages of players have you coached? And then, what'd you get out of that?
Yeah, for Dakota United, they're from preschool all the way till 5th grade, and then some other
Okay.
nights, like during the week, they can be 6th and 7th graders. It just depends, like when I coach, but the majority of my time I'm with the younger kids. And
Uh,
I think what I got out of that is like I don't necessarily like I'm not gravitating towards kids, but what I'm gravitating towards is like teaching soccer. And
hmm
being from California and being from such a like rich environment where soccer was like you breathed it, coming to North Dakota and you marry like I kind of just saw that there maybe isn't as much development as there could be and they're still trying to grow and being a part of Dakota an old men's alum from UMary like runs it and
mm
he had gotten in touch with me and I was like, okay, like let's try it. And it's more so like just teaching them the basics, like using what side of their foot, using like what techniques, maybe learning how to
Yeah.
shoot. And because they're so young, I think it kind of like helped me grow my love for kids. Like they're not as annoying as I thought maybe, but they're really eager to learn. And I guess what I learned from that the most is that you can start at any age and like you can become good. It's just like the love and the effort that you put in is what's gonna like actually get you going. And
hmm
um yeah, it's been like a really cool thing to be a part of. And as like I said, as much as I didn't think I liked kids, they kind of
Yeah.
like helped me get my fire and my love back for them and my love back for teaching and like helping them understand soccer and the soccer IQ stuff.
Right. I mean, it definitely breaks your knowledge of the game down to the most basic. You're like, how do I communicate at the basic level? Yeah, and yeah,
Yeah.
I have little kids, toddlers running around playing soccer in the bar all the time on the weekend, and it's like the joy a kid gets from scoring a goal. I mean, it's the same you get as an adult. So yeah, once you see them loving that, you're like, okay, yeah, we can. But yeah, it is a lot of work, I would imagine, with young
Yes.
kids that age.
Yes.
T
A lot.
talk so Mo, give Naj an idea of, like, I've been to a couple games at Bob Young Field where Sioux Falls City plays. It's a sweet stadium. It's right by a pregame bar. It's a perfect setup, for a community club. And good crowds, by the way, like a really solid turnout. Talk about playing there. I mean, compared to, there's certain times in your college time, I'm sure you have decent crowds, but like, it's maybe a level up. Just talk about what to expect, Naj can expect, and just talk about what you get out of playing in front of, like, it's a vocal crowd. There's 1,000 people, there could be 1,500 people. It's great.
Yeah, I come from, like, both of my college experiences, like, they are very, like, small towns that maybe weren't as invested in soccer, like, more so football and, like,
Mhm.
other, sports, and I've never, like, had such a big crowd before, so, like, my first year in Sioux Falls
Mhm.
was, like even then, when we like were still trying to get our footing in the WPSL, I was still so shocked with how many people that were there. And then as we gained traction this past year, like all the community engagement stuff and like having like all the halftime things that happen, it's like such a good like way to get people involved. And then at the end of the game to like have all these like little girls and little boys come up to you and like want you to sign their stuff and like
Hmm.
just the joy that they have and like just knowing that they know your name like is so different because at the college level like a lot of people don't
Hmm.
really know you, like you're just another player. And to see that and like play with like them in the crowd and like play with their parents watching us, like I have a lot of gratitude for that because it makes me want to play like even better. It makes me want to win. And like one of the biggest like memories I have is like when we were playing against Pride and we ended up losing that game 3-3. But Naj, let me tell you, we were down 3-2. We had like 30 seconds left, and Maya
Hmm.
Molenmeister scored off a header, and I don't think I've ever seen a crowd like so crazy. Like people were shirts were off, towels were like being thrown. Like it was like I thought we were like in the NFL. Like I thought we were in the WNBA. I thought we just won the national tournament. Like I was
Yeah.
like so shocked. And even when we did lose in the PKs, like the outpouring of love from the community to like get behind us and be like, hey, it's okay. Like you guys had a great season, something you've never done before. Like we got number one in the league and just playing in front of that crowd is so different than I would say college, and you feel so much gratitude for the people you're playing for, and when they come down to the stands and like want to meet you, it's probably the greatest part of like being on the team, and it's really fulfilling for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming out again, and especially having. I think Aurora visits twice. I mean, so that's going to be sweet. I wonder how many if we'll get a little bit of visiting crowd. But um, Naj, I want to ask you too. You went to so I mean, you go to Brown already. Prestigious. You went to Suffield Academy. I saw right, which is
Yeah.
like a boarding school. It might have cost as much as my whole college in a year. It might be prestigious, y'all. But talk about you. And by the way, this came up on Wikipedia about the school. They played in a different boarding school my uncle happened to go to randomly, which is not common in our family. So I thought that was really funny. He went to Deerfield Academy. Do you know though? So to reference, I mean, good work. Nadja's been doing her schoolwork, but do you know the school motto? Because since it was up there, I had to quiz you on this. The school motto for Suffield Academy.
I don't think
You
I've
can say it in Latin if you want. I don't know how to say Latin. Maybe you do because it's like a fancier school, but I have it in English as well.
uh,
It's actually kind of good. I don't really understand it fully because it kind of makes me think. It is so in Latin. Clip this because it's wrong. Esse quam videri. It says to be rather than to seem.
yeah.
I was like, damn, that made me think for a sec. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm gonna have to Google that. Does that ring a bell now?
Yes, it does. I actually have a sweatshirt that says that on it.
You do?
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't a crazy question. Yeah, all right. Well, now talk about this is a new thing for you to be coming, play just for a summer team like this, to try to better your game and have an experience. What are your goals, for Sioux Falls City, because it's in the summer. I mean, it is a mix, like the team obviously has team goals and they want to be successful, but for players, it is a lot about, sometimes individual goals. So I'm curious, like, what's your balance of that, and what are you focusing on this summer coming to play for Sioux Falls City?
I think like my main goal is like to get better, like if each and every day to get better. Like I think as a player, like you don't get better by just like sitting down, but by just like playing and practicing and playing with like
Mm-hmm.
people like Mo and then like all the teammates I'm gonna meet like this summer is gonna be like a good addition to myself and then like to the team as well. And I think I'm just gonna bring myself and in the game I know because I'm coming from like a whole continent. So like maybe they've
Mm-hmm.
never played with a girl from Ivory Coast. So me bringing that Ivorian spice onto the team is gonna be something that I'm looking forward to, and then be playing with people from North Dakota, South Dakota, like all over the world. It's like something I'm looking forward to, and then that's why I literally said, oh yes, I want to play. I want to play with people from like different parts of the world because I've
Mm-hmm.
been here. It's cold, so let me leave here and let me go somewhere else, and then play with people, and then I want to see the way others play out there because
Mhm.
I'm like, I've seen enough of
Mhm.
here. Let me see
Mhm.
how people play out there, and then also let me bring what I know, and then we bringing all of this together. I think
Mhm.
it's gonna be a good season, and I'm looking forward
Mhm.
to it because I know the team is good, and I've heard so much about it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Right on. Well, yeah, we hope we'll see. We'll have to get Naja's comments after a few games on her comment on the North, the game in the North. Mo, what are your goals? Because you said like you're out of college eligibility. You want to keep playing though. What are your goals for this year and kind of moving with the game?
Yeah, my goals are similar to Nadja. Like I definitely do want to get better, but I'm also now that I'm out of college, like I want to gain perspective on life and I want to gain perspective on like other people playing in the sport because now that I'm out of eligibility, it's more so like, how can I
Mhm.
still contribute to the team without being on a college level team? And that
Mhm.
can be really hard and like frightening and challenging for a lot of people, but I have a plan in place. Like I want to keep playing as long as I can.
Mhm.
And I know in Sioux Falls it's a really fulfilling place to be, even when it's cold. I've bared the cold in North Dakota, but
Mhm.
um my goal is to just like I want to beat Aurora. Like I want to win this league. I want to show people like what we can do in South Dakota and I want to show like what Joe had said previously is like there are some people that are still sus about us even though we've had so much success. Like I want
Mhm.
to show people all over the nation, like people from California, people from the Ivory Coast, people from South Dakota. Like I want them to see like what we're doing is big and we can go up a league, we can change like gears, we can do whatever, but we're still going to be successful and we're still going to
Mhm.
be a team that has a target on their back because of
Mhm.
like what we represent and how we play. And what makes us so special is that like what Naj said is like there's so many like different perspectives and how I play is going to be so different than what other people like think and how they play. But to learn and like be able to bounce ideas off each other, be able to play with each other is such a gift. And instead of just like maybe always having a Division 1 team or like maybe always having like top tier Division 2 people, like we have so many different backgrounds and like to see that where this team is going is just like I'm grateful for being a part of it and
Mhm.
yeah, my biggest goal is to just keep staying with it and to keep like
Mhm.
um progressing with this team and this club and to see where they go in the next few years.
Mhm. And to beat Aurora, thank you for that, Mo.
Yes,
Thank you for
yes.
I didn't even prompt it.
Yes.
Look,
All
when
three times.
someone all three times. Oh, I
Yes,
love
of
that.
course.
When
Of course.
when someone told me what I said on Equal Time ended up on a college team's bulletin board as a motivation point, and I
Oh,
wasn't even really dogging the team that hard. It was like my best. It was like I didn't even know people listened. Cool. I love that though. Mo and Naj, thank you so much. We will see the team more and more this summer. Gonna take a break and get back with a couple of your teammates. Thank y'all. Yeah. All right. Quick shout out. You see it in the descriptor on the page. We are a Pentz Homes program. Shout out to Pentz Homes, longtime supporter of the game, the women's game, and Equal Time specifically. I'm surrounded by people in my life who live in Pentz Homes, and they've loved their experience. They work with Angie Shearer at Luminate Financing, and as a soccer bartender, most importantly, I can tell you that Nate and Lydia are class customers, and so there's some people that you should trust to find your next home. Bring them in. And now we'll move on to two more player interviews. We're going to get in here. Avery Korching. Avery, welcome.
Hi.
Avery is a player who has fallen under, the teams that we cover a lot, especially this past fall. We're doing watch alongs, and I'll rip the band-aid off right away. It's been a few months, but I was saying it's a very successful season. There should be no hard feelings. But Minnesota State Mankato, second place in the D2 tournament this last year. Huge run. We covered it a bunch. And like I joked, but I mean, it has been a long enough time. You've probably thought about it. You're in spring season, focusing for next year. Talk about what you got out of that experience.
Um, there was a lot player development, especially since we're in the Midwest, we pretty much play the same teams a lot. So like
Yeah.
just like Central Mo or like teams from Oklahoma. So just being able to experience going out to North Carolina and playing Columbus State and Cal Poly, it's that, but also just like team bonding wise, and it's just team chemistry just grows, especially playing for that long. Because I think we started in August and went all the way to middle of December. So it's like really long season, but with that long of a run and how far we went, you don't get really tired of it. So it was just a whole thing to enjoy.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, because it sounds like, yeah, you've had the time to get perspective on it because it was still, like you said, I mean, it's a regular thing for the team to be in the tournament, but you do end up playing the same teams a lot. You'll play Central Missouri, you'll play, the teams from Michigan if you make it, and so really breaking through the barrier is fun. I mean, it made it fun for us because we love seeing those runs. What is your, I mean, in the past when you've played in the summer, I don't know how it changes. I mean, once you're actually in the college time and thinking about maybe you balance other things like I asked your other teammates, but what made you choose to play for Sioux Falls City and kind of what, or were you weighing also doing other stuff or just taking a summer off?
Yeah, so last year I played for Mankato United since it was right here in Mankato and it's just easy to access, but I know I wanted to join a program where I'm gonna improve as a player and that's going to push me. And when I was talking to, because Afton is also on my team here.
Yep.
And then when Joe and other people reached out to me, I was like talking to her and what it's like and the environment. And she was just telling me how it's very competitive and it's like they'll go hard 24/7. And they don't treat it like summer soccer. They treat it like they treat it like a pro team because that's what they want to be. And that's what really caught my eye to wanting to join this because I don't know. I want to go back to the national championship next year and win it. And I know playing for this team this summer is going to help me get there and just make me a better player. And also just hearing other aspects of the people and the culture also just kind of swayed me towards them more. Just hearing again from Afton and then also from Joe, just like what they stand for and what they support is just really awesome. It's just something I want to be a part of and grow with as a like organization.
What was your recruitment like in terms of contrasting with, when you're doing it in high school, the rules have gotten better so people aren't like 14 and stuff signing their college commitments, but it's still a different experience when you haven't kind of got to already make a choice and kind of like find your way into a team. I would guess when you're doing something like this, you have a different kind of perspective then. How is it different? I mean, like Joe's still, he's a college coach recruiting for Sioux Falls still on the side. So, it's like he said, it's not so different for him, but did the difference, show for you in picking, a summer league team?
A little bit. What I liked about them is how they reached out to me first because last year, they were in WPSL, so Mankato, we played them. And now when we played them, I was like, holy cow, this team is really, really good. And I'm like, I want to be a part of this team. But I didn't. It wasn't until this fall he started coming to our games and they reached out to me. And then Joe just was always just reaching out to me, just asking how I was doing and how our games went and just keeping that conversation going. And then that's kind of like having that building that chemistry with Joe just also helped me more want to go to Sioux Falls. So like just I feel like it's a little different than college because there's not so many rules and not so strict. So it's like a little less subtle, but it still has like you want to make that bond with the coaches and all that. So
who is your favorite team to beat in the NSIC?
St. Cloud, and then probably
St. Cloud's had a good run,
they have, and also Mary.
And Mary, boom, I love it. Shots fired. Yeah, and look, this, what I love is it's also a stray bullet to Bemidji because you didn't say Bemidji, so Bemidji State can take it as motivation too, which I love. So we'll take a twofer on that. We love it though. We love covering the NSIC. I love asking players about the other sports they played. What was it like to beat Waverly Shell Rock for the 2A state championship in Iowa in 2022?
It was awesome because the year before that we played them in the championship again and we got killed.
Yeah, you had lost 5. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So it was just because then it was my senior year. So then ending out on that and then beating a team that killed us is just a better feeling. It's like, I
Mhm.
don't know, it's just that underdog mentality of like, yeah, like you beat us last year, but you're not going to this year.
Well, and we've interviewed Jenny Vetter a bunch. I know she played basketball. I mean, we have a lot of players who that was their second sport or like track. Did you think about playing basketball in college, or was it soccer was a clear choice for you?
I did for a little bit, but soccer has always been, I like to say soccer has always been my first love.
Mhm.
And it was something that like I was okay saying goodbye to basketball, but I know soccer is something that I don't want to say goodbye to for a while. So when I came down to it, I was like, it's going to be soccer 100%.
Is there do you guys ever end up, I'm sure maybe sometimes like if you're like joking around or playing for fun, you play basketball with your teammates. Who's the best basketball player on Minnesota State, Avery?
That's a hard decision. So actually last week during the spring, my coach Brian, he likes to split us in half and we play each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have some people who are like, oh yeah, they were definitely good in high school. And you have some people like, you see them shoot the basketball and you're like, oh no.
You do a
But
full team basketball game? Because I wondered if you do it for fun. You actually like play a 5-on-5 game?
yeah, we do. We do like every spring. But I have to say, she's a freshman, Sav.
Mm,
She was a pretty good basketball player in high school. So, and
mhm.
and you could really tell during the scrimmage.
I mean, that's reminders of when I had friends on the college football team and they would play a basketball game and they like would turn it into like a rugby game because they couldn't really play enough. Yeah, that's what, that I mean, it's cool to mix it up. And yeah, we have so many different athletes. I'm gonna ask Hailee about some other high school sports. So yeah, what do you, I mean for you, I wanted to ask you this, Avery, is there something where for us it comes up like I interview a lot of players like trying to come up with better questions and trying to be better, and also I'm around a lot of soccer fans who just talk about the game a lot and I hear them just talking about the same old things. Do you have something like when you have family coming to games or like friends who don't really know it and talk about it, like is there something about the way they talk about the game that annoys you? Like I hate when people like overdo talking about formations when it doesn't really mean anything, or like is there anything like that that comes up? I bet you get some family comments after games.
Yeah. Oh, it's my mom actually. Um, she likes to. I can hear her during the game, and I might be at the 35-yard line, and I can hear her yelling at me to shoot the ball. And
Yeah, yeah. Well, why
I'm around
not?
the
Score it, Avery. Score it.
I'm around the 30 and the 40, and all I hear yell is shoot. And it's every single game. I love my mom. I'm just like looking. I look over because I know it's her. I'm like,
Mhm.
Mom, I'm at the 35-yard line. I don't know if I can make it right here.
I love it. Hey, it's my mom's watching. She was a consummate pro at our high school games. My dad, if he's watching, he knows what he was like at my sister's basketball game. So yeah, I didn't deal with it. He didn't know enough about soccer to tell me what to do. But that's funny. I love that. Thanks for being honest with that, Avery. And look, we
Yeah.
live by mom. Shout out to mom. And yeah, thank you so much, Avery. We're going to move on to our last teammate,
Thank
and we'll talk to you
you.
soon. All right. Hailee, thank you so much for being patient. Welcome.
Hi.
We have Hailee Christensen, plays for South Dakota State. Again, another team we end up covering a lot. Everybody on this, honestly, has been a team we've covered a lot, even including Brown with the Minnesota connections. We talk about recruiting with players a lot. We did a bit with some of your teammates just now. But in doing the research, Hailee, I found you had like a fully professional website for your recruiting.
Yep.
And it's well done. I mean, that's like, and so what I'm going to ask you about, aside from, look, it's a good website. It's like highlight, schedule, like contact her. It's like, yeah, I get it why you would make it. But my favorite part was the name Hailee, Hailee, spelled out with an acronym to describe like Hailee as a player. Do you remember? Do you remember what the acronym was?
I can't say I do. I do have to give complete credit to my dad because he's the one that
Iconic.
completely set that up.
There's a
He's
certain, and I kind of assumed it was a thing, but I mean, look, it worked out, and it's a good acronym. It's heart, attitude, intelligence, leader, energized, elite. What's not to like? I like it, yeah.
Yep.
And also, once you go pro, you'll already have the website set up. You can just transition. But you're a local. You're playing in South Dakota. Very successful, to say the least. State it plainly. You were the Gatorade Player of the Year. Did you get free Gatorade? I don't remember if I've asked Gatorade Players of the Year. What did they give you for being Gatorade Player of the Year?
Um, well, I had like a trophy, and then I
Mhm.
think our school had like the big packets of Gatorade.
Okay.
Um, so then they could put them in like the coolers, but I don't think we got individual bottles. So
Was the trophy big? Was it worth it? Do you have the trophy? I mean, was it a good
I
trophy?
don't, yeah, I don't have it with me. It's back at home, but it's
Well,
like,
it'd be a little, yeah, you couldn't bring that to your college door. That'd be gauche, yeah. I love that though. But no, the big time player at Harrisburg, in South Dakota. We've interviewed enough players from Sioux Falls City and other teams that I'm starting to get a sense of the high school soccer culture in South Dakota. But you also played for your dad, right?
yep.
What was it like playing for your dad as your coach?
I mean, I loved it. He,
I'm sure he's watching, so I mean, yeah, you can.
oh yeah, yes, he is. I mean, he's been my coach since I would say I was like 7, 6,
Sure,
7, 8, around that age.
right.
Um, so I guess I was pretty used to it, but
Mhm,
I mean, I don't
mhm,
know. It was fun. He he knows me as a person and as a player, so we got along pretty well on the field. So
uh, guess it helps you're pretty good. So it's yeah, yeah. If he was the coach and you were bad, I guess I don't know. Seem to be succeeding all the time. I did see a story though. It's a cool story about. Look, I'm very familiar too. Like dads who just became coaches. Like I didn't have any coaches growing up who had not just been a dad becoming a coach. Shout out to my coaches, loved you, but that's what it was. But you played with there was a story about your dad becoming a coach and then your friend's dad becoming a coach and you playing with, is it Mia Mullenmeister?
Maya, yes. Yep.
Maya, that look, man, this I get you has a
The
50-50. I
spelling,
picked
I
up that.
know.
But talk about that because you grew up like it was a story about how like your dad became, coach buds with him and that you were playing with her growing up and now you're back on the same team.
Yeah, we were best friends back again since we were 6, 7, 8 years old. Um,
Mhm.
I think we played rec together maybe, and then our dads were like, "These guys are pretty good at soccer for being 6 or 7, so why don't we just start a
Yeah.
competitive team?" So those 2 got together, and then Maya and I just continued to play soccer together.
Mhm.
We shared the love for the game, so that kinda helped with our friendship.
Mhm.
And then we both moved, well, I guess I moved to Sioux Falls, she stayed in Mitchell, but we both
Yeah.
moved to Dakota Alliance, so we played together pretty much up until the last couple of years. So,
Mhm.
we had, like, a 2-year break from playing together, and then we were right back at
Mhm.
it, and it felt like nothing changed,
Mhm.
so
Yeah. It's fun in the summer, different summer leagues we cover, like the fact that you can have both, reuniting or like, no, we were rivals in high school, but now we're playing on a different because there are a lot of local teams. So yeah, the connections are really fun. And sometimes it's like, oh, there's 6 girls from the one all state team in 20, all in the same field right now. Yeah. I was talking about basketball with your other teammates, but you were running track. Maybe you played basketball too, but
nope.
no,
I'm so
no.
bad
I
at
mean,
basketball.
you could have run out for a layup, I guess, if you were a sprinter, because you were a sprinter, right?
Yep.
And what was your best 100 time?
Um, Probably like a
Like,
12-1 something?
oh
I
God,
don't
that sounds so
remember.
hard. Sounds so hard. You
Yeah.
because that was something. I mean, you were like, didn't you make state
Yeah.
running track? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I love it. Running sprint. Did you just do 100s or did you field stuff? Did you do other track?
Nope, 1 and 200s and then the relays for it. Ran a couple
Lower.
400s and those
You're
were
like,
terrible.
nah. Which is
No,
funny because you are a soccer player, so it's not like you're not
you
like
would think it would be
you're not a
good,
hockey
but
player, like about yeah, they'd be like, no, come on, yeah, well, do you get the glamour races? Yeah, you want to make money if you're going to be in track, the 1 in 200. Um, but yeah, let's talk a little bit about South Dakota State too, because you played a lot. I mean, you had goal contributions. South Dakota State, I mean, obviously people watching this probably aware, one of the best and most consistent, programs in our area. How much did playing, for Sioux Falls City in that interim, you played last summer before college, right? How
yep.
much did that help with the transition? Was it different? I mean, how much did you take from that as you just went right into then playing for the Jackrabbits?
I would say it definitely helped me mentally, because I've always kind of been afraid of contact because I'm
Oh,
just not
mhm,
a big fan of it. But playing against older players, you kind of need to toughen up a little bit. So
mhm,
I think playing in the summer helped me with that part of it, but also just like thinking on your toes and being able to like know what to do when you like before you get the ball. Um, Sometimes, like, those types of things you didn't really need in South Dakota high school soccer, but, like, being able to do that before going to state, I mean, it definitely helped. I would say it definitely helped.
yeah,
So
and you, I mean, you had a good run last year. I mean, the team is always in the conversation to be in the tournament. Last year is kind of like a satisfying way to make it. There's a lot of like mid-table Summit League teams that were making upsets happen. But so you had just lost to Denver in the regular season. You beat them in the Summit League tournament to then make it to the NCAA's. You lost to Minnesota in a good game. I mean, it was 2-0. I watched that game for sure. It was a solid performance, but talk about being on that playoff run. You got to run through the conference tournament. You didn't know because you don't know necessarily if you don't win the summit, it's unlikely to make the tournament. So there's a lot of drama in that. Talk about what you took out of that experience.
um, I would say the experience was nerve-wracking, being a freshman, you
Yeah.
don't really have that experience, but, I mean, like you said, our team has been successful in the past, so a lot of our upperclassmen already had the mindset of, like, how this all worked, so
Mhm.
having them definitely, like, calmed the nerves, but it also still made me excited because we have been there before. Not
Mhm.
all of us, but, we all had an idea of what we were getting ourselves into, and it was just
Mhm.
it was exciting, definitely, especially after winning the Summit League. We were all very excited because we knew what was to come, like, we knew we were in
Mhm.
the tournament, so I would
Yeah.
say it's definitely nerve-wracking, but also very exciting.
Yeah, but it worked out that the U had that run. It'd been so long for them, and that getting to play there is kind of cool because it is like, I bet. I mean, especially for family, right? Like, did you have family that you must have had some family want to go?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my
Yeah,
family doesn't miss too many soccer games, so it was fun for them too.
they do a lot of prairie driving if they're doing the Summit League, baby, getting down
Oh,
to
yeah.
Nebraska, yeah, getting everywhere. When a new player, we're talking to Daj, and it's like I'm from Minnesota, I'm from rural Minnesota. Like we know how much people joke about. When I used to work in politics, people from the coast would come work with me, and they'd be saying crazy stuff about what they thought of Minnesota. When someone like, say you're on a group chat like this, maybe you are literally at some point in the spring, like welcoming a new player, and they're like, they don't know what to expect, or they're saying stuff. What are you when you're trying to like big up South Dakota to someone, is there a specific like, bullet list of things you say? Like how do you shout out your home state when you got to stand up for it?
Um, I would say the main thing that I say is, like, Sioux Falls is a pretty big city. A lot
Hmm.
of people don't see it that way, but,
Yeah.
um, there is a lot of small towns in South Dakota, but especially where we are, I mean, you're not really in, like, a cornfield. Some people ask me if I live on a farm, and I'm like, "No, I actually live in a pretty big city." So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
just being able to explain that to them that it's not all just cornfields and roads,
yeah. Yeah,
so
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is. Yeah, no, Sioux Falls is a wonderful small city. Like, I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. If there were no suburbs around, it wouldn't be that different from Sioux Falls, like, to be honest, like it's kind of the same size. But yeah, I love it. I love it. I can't help but ask. It's probably like overly done, but I can't help but ask when we get people from other places what they thought of Minnesota or South Dakota. Um, what's the best crowd that you've played in front of, Hailee? I'm sure you got some decent ones in college last year. I mean, obviously the Sioux Falls City ones. But you guys also have like the Aurora crowds coming up, which can be like 6 grand or 7,000. It's not money, 6,000 or 7,000 people. What's been your best kind of crowd experience this so far in your career, and how much are you looking forward to having a few more like big games like that?
Um, the best one that I can remember would be like the one Mo was explaining, our Pride, a game against Pride. Just
Uh-huh.
like you look up in the stands and you see like every spot is filled, and I mean it's a pretty big stadium for
It's
a
good.
soccer
Yeah.
team, but
Hmm.
um, just having like all that support, it's very exciting, and like just seeing everyone there supporting
Hmm.
us, even if they were supporting the other team. Um,
Hmm.
like that's just support for the game of soccer, and I would say that's probably the biggest one that I've seen. I also try
Yeah.
not to look in the crowd just because it gets a little bit nervous, but
Okay.
um, I like to look halftime before the game.
Uh-huh.
So
I like your honesty about it, because yeah, obviously, like, when you've never, like, even so, like when you first play in a game like that one, it's like I remember people saying when Aurora played their opener, and I'm sorry to compare them, but it's going to be a fun rivalry this summer. But it's just my experience talking to players when they hadn't played in front, and then there were 6,000 people, they couldn't hear, and it was just different. And so like they didn't play that good the first game, because it was like they were, like you were saying, it's a bit of everything. Like you are excited, but it is a different thing to adjust mentally. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing it, because it sounds like it can make you anxious, but also makes you feel bigger and better. In a way too, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's fun. I can't wait to go back and watch it. Bob Young. Uh, I want to ask you the same question I asked Avery. Is there something like when your family or friends are talking about the game, or if you watch soccer commentary, like the way they talk about it, do you have any like things that stick at you or bug you in the way people talk about the game? Maybe they seem ignorant or naive or something.
My family's actually pretty good with the soccer talk, just because 'cause we've all grown up around it, but one thing that I have noticed in the past 2 years is my brother is getting very passionate about his opinions about the game. So
Uh-huh.
he, he'll tell
Uh-huh.
me if I'm doing something wrong, it'll be, like, his opinion. I'll be like, "Hey, well, my coach actually said that was pretty good," and he's like, "No, you could have done better than that." And I was like, "Okay." He's not a soccer player, but he's still very passionate, and he knows a lot about the game, so
He's watched, he doesn't know soccer, but he knows you, Hailee, so he knows what to give you advice for in soccer. Shout out. I love that. Yeah, that's funny. I'm trying to imagine, yeah, would I never give my siblings advice for in sports, but yeah, that's funny. I'm sure I've said some stuff to Matt that was off base. But Hailee, thank you so much for joining. I'll close it out for you just by asking, as I asked some of your teammates, what are your goals personally? I mean, you still have a lot of years of college, but I didn't ask this directly of the others, but seeing how there's more and more pro teams, you're playing at a high level. Is this the type of team that makes you think, about your future in the game? Is the pro game something you look for, or just being involved, after college?
yeah, it's definitely something I've been considering. I am still pretty young, so
Mhm.
I'm definitely just looking at trying to get better, but it's always something that's in the back of my head, just where it can lead. But I'm also trying to
Mhm.
just be present in the right now. So
Mhm.
want to beat all these teams next summer. So we'll see what
Mhm.
happens, but that's kind of the goal right now, be better or to get better and to also win a few games at the same time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hailee.
Thank
All
you.
right. We'll close it out, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. We went long, but there's a lot of players and good info to get about this upcoming season. For people who wanting to watch Sioux Falls City, there's a friendly against Sioux City, not confusing. They're of the WPSL. That's on May 15th, 7 p.m. Bob Young Field at home. W League starts May 21st at River Light, and then I will be in Sioux Falls probably June 17th when they host Aurora. They host Aurora then 3 days later on June 20th. And then Sioux Falls City plays at Aurora on June 6th. So for the people who watch our stuff, lots of opportunities. Rochester FC also has matchups May 29, June 24, June 12. Anyway, we will keep promoting these teams. Thank you for tuning in. We'll have a written preview of the summer leagues just as soon as we get the UPSL schedule out. But thank you everybody for joining, and we'll have a great season this summer. Thanks.